All right, here we are. Hello and welcome to the Viking Code School Summer 2015 Cohort Final Demo Day. Today we have demos of two major projects that the students have put together. They've been working over the last 16 weeks to learn as much as they possibly can about web development, everything from Ruby to Ruby on Rails to JavaScript to Angular, SQL. What else? You guys have learned absolutely everything. And it's been a hell of a journey, but this is the end. Throughout the program, we've stuck with a very project-focused approach, and we've definitely tried to keep things as real-world as possible as well. And as part of that, at the end of the program, the students actually group up and they build these 2-week-long projects that are broken up into 2 single-week Agile sprints, so it basically simulates as much of a real work environment as possible. And so these projects are basically the end result of that. The students have been working incredibly hard on them. And we have 2 projects. One is Codelegy and one is Grandma, and they're both pretty awesome. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to see the hopefully you've had a chance to see the descriptions of those, but you will very shortly. And basically the way that today's format is going to work is we'll have each team present their own portion. They'll start by doing a product demo. There will be a chance to ask questions at the end of that, and then they'll do a technical demo, so kind of dig deep, lift up the hood and see what's underneath and see what's inside of each project, and then you'll have a chance to ask questions at the end of that as well. Basically, I think we're pretty much good to go, and so why don't we just turn things right over to Team Codelegy. You guys take it from here.
Okay, we have Codelegy. Can you see my screen? All right. So Codelegy, what is Codelegy? Codelegy was an idea that I came up with when I was searching. I was using a site to help learn Rails, basically, and someone had come up with an idea of, hey, does anybody want to work on this project together? And there's a ton of responses, and we ended up having too many people, and separate groups came up, and I never actually got to the point where we actually built anything because I ended up starting Viking then, but the idea stuck with me of like there's no real service out there that will bring you together with other coders, find other people that are about your skill level that you can work on whatever you want with this, whether it be a project, algorithms, or katas, or whatever you want to call them, anything like that. So we came up with this, and here it is. It's group projects. You can learn skills, and you can do like meetups right at home. So let's take a quick tour of it. You can come in here. You can sign up. Now you can sign up with either your GitHub or you can sign up with your own username. So let's do a quick Codelegy test user. I don't know what that after this. So let's do that. You pick out your skills at your skills, and you pick out what your experience level in them. So say I'm advanced at Ruby, Rails, JavaScript, and I'm a beginner there and a beginner at PHP. Next, we'll have our times. Well, these are the times that you're going to be available to code. So let's say Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I'm free from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. So let's say 5, 10:30, and we'll add those time slots. So now we have a quick tour of the site. So signing up, which you did already, but it's in there in case somebody needed it. Uh, there's different aspects of the site, and we'll be adding more as well. If you need to edit your settings, edit your profile, you wanted to find or join a product, it'll walk you through it if you couldn't figure it out, that kind of thing. So those are there for you, and then from that point, you can pretty much dive into looking for projects. So here you have a pretty quick and easy way to look at your projects. Um, you can filter them out if you wanted to. So say like you wanted to only find projects that included JavaScript, you could click JavaScript and it'll show you the only JavaScript projects. And then there could be or JavaScript and Rails. It'll combine those two together. Um, this is so from here you can either join one of these projects that are existing. So say like, I wanted to join making a Facebook clone or whatever his first project is, Google clone, that kind of thing. It will tell you like who's the project owners. These are are blank for now because I deleted that user. Well, we kept the projects in case anybody's still working on it. Um, but then it'll tell you the estimated difficulty, how long ago that person created that project, what times of the owners available, and then what languages they're coding in. And then if you wanted to join, you just hit code together. But say I looked through these, I didn't find anything that I wanted to work on. So from there, I could just really either click new project here, or I could look at my dashboard and make one there. So make your own project. I could do a say I wanted to do the Blogger 2 tutorial. So Blogger 2, um, make a blog, and I wanted to do an HTML, Ruby, Rails, and JavaScript. Intermediate, we'll throw some times in real quick. It automatically adjusts to your available times already. But say you had actually more time, you could well, sorry, I didn't put there's some validation there as well. Uh, so say I wanted to add those to my current times as well, you could do that. Submit those. So now that's there. Um, and what I can do is I'm gonna hop into this other account. This is my other GitHub account, which I signed in via GitHub. You could sign up or sign in from GitHub. Um, so say I was another user and I wanted to join that Blogger 2 program, I could send him a message. Hey, let's create a blog together. And we'll send him off a message. So what happens then is you will get the message in your group. It takes a moment, but you will get your group a message in the group. But you also will get a email saying, hey, this user wants to. You get a message. So it will email you saying like this is the confirmation email. Sorry, close that. But you have a new message in Codelegy waiting for you, and then you can modify your email notifications if you didn't want those instantly, but those are there for you. So it'll go into your send you a message saying this person wants to join your project, and then you could code with that person. Here is your dashboard. In your dashboard, you have some customizations here. You have their availability languages. You can add them, or you can take them out if you want. Change your notifications. So say I only want it once a week. What this will do is basically compile all your messages for that week, and then make it so you only get it like on Saturdays, and then you don't have to worry about the constant spam coming from Codelegy. We don't want to bug you. You could also change. So say you didn't want the cool looking hipster, which I personally like them, but say you wanted to change them, you could. So you could go there and say I wanted. Oh, I don't even have my. Let's pick a random image here. So you could update your image to whatever it was that you wanted. I don't even know if that's a real thing. um, so it will grab your, as you noticed, grab your current GitHub picture or whatever you have on there. Then you notice there it says it's pending, so it's still waiting for another account to accept there. Those are it's a kata. If you didn't know, kata is basically an algorithm. Is there any questions about the Codelegy layout or anything like that?
Just as a note to anyone who's watching, there's a little Q&A app on the side, which you can activate if you sort of hover over the Google Hangout and you pull up that little left bar. It's probably the fourth one down. It is for me at least. It's a light blue thing that says Q&A, so you can actually ask a question there, and we'll be able to see it. So that's the best way to ask a question. Otherwise, if one of you in here wants to ask a question, feel free.
All right. While we're waiting for any questions, I will go through some frequently questions that were brought up. I have been tweeting about Codelegy, and I have some people joining or signing up that had signed up previously. So will this teach you code? No. This is not going to be a site that you can go through and actually just learn from us. This is more of you find a source that you want to learn from, and you find other people to work with on that thing. So say you wanted to go to the Odin project. You could find other people who are working on the Odin project, and you could work through the projects and the challenges. together on there. How much does it cost me? This is going to be a free site. This is going to be totally free to find other people. From here on out, there are going to be some premium features later on, but there's going to be more for the for other types of users. What languages is not an option? Say you wanted to learn like React.js or AngularJS, something like that, or Go, anything like that. If it is something related to the category that is up there, so React is very similar to, or it is JavaScript. You would just list it under the JavaScript category, and then you could people could find it based on that. Secondly, if there's a language on there that is completely not on there or related or anything like Go, you could shoot us an email. You can just click this link. You can send us an email, and that will. And if we get feedback based on like a lot of people want to learn a language, a lot of people want to learn Go, then we'll add it on there. Otherwise, you can also use that same email for any ideas, for any new ideas you have for the site or bugs or anything like that. We already have quite a list of things that we want to add later on, like video chat and stuff like that. Those are going to be in the works going forward. Otherwise, is there any other questions that we have not addressed?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hit code together, does that mean that he's already automatically part of the project, or is there some kind of acceptance that has to happen? How does that work after that message is sent?
Well, when you send the code together, the person will get the notification to accept or decline the person. We didn't want to necessarily put them in the group automatically. Say it was just something that they wanted to work with one or two other people on specifically. Then that person has the ability to decline other people, or in that case, we didn't want to automatically throw them into groups together. We also considered hard limits, but then again, it's one of the, we leave it completely up to the person who is controlling that project. And it looks like. Yep.
Well, if there are no more questions, you can dive right into technical demo.
So the first thing I kind of like to go over technically is just the general layout of the kind of back end of the website. As Mike was showing off, there's lots of moving parts and lots of relationships. Everything is kind of centered around these projects. As Mike was going, each project, they have time slots. You could estimate the difficulty that the project's going to take. Each project has certain languages that belongs to, and of course, it has users via this memberships table. In a second, Jin's going to talk a little bit more about users and authentication and GitHub integration. I kind of wanted to talk briefly about keeping track of time slots for this project. Rails and Postgres, which is the database that we use, don't like dates by themselves, and they're notoriously tricky to work with if you don't have a date attached to it. For example, if there's a leap day, or you might have some funny stuff happening around 2 in the morning, or time zone conversion. There's all sorts of tricky things working with times by themselves and not dates. So on this kind of time slots table, the way we wound up doing it was seconds after midnight. So for example, 2 in the afternoon, I believe, is 50,400 seconds after midnight. We keep track of that. We don't have to worry so much about funny situations like leap day and time zone. There are time zone conversions, but leap day and other funny things that happen with time we don't keep track of. So all we do is join days like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and time slots together. And on this, when they're joined together, then projects have their own times, profiles have their own times, and that's uniquely identified by this owner ID and owner class. So owner class might be project, and it might be profile, and projects and profile each have their own ID, which is this fourth column here. So that was pretty tricky to work with. Another kind of interesting thing I mentioned is this kind of time zone conversion. I kind of hate to show you the code, it's so kind of broken up, but the browser actually takes care of that work for us. All we do is pass JavaScript a date object, and we capture the time zone offset, convert it into milliseconds because JavaScript uses millisecond offset to calculate time. And that's how we basically capture that time. We let the browser, each client's browser, use the time zone offset, for us. On the back end, everything's stored in UTC, time zone 0. So you see here when we push it into our time slots object, we divide by 1,000 because Ruby doesn't use milliseconds; it just uses seconds. So that's just kind of a sneak peek at some of the technology and design behind this website. And now Jin's going to talk about the users and authentication.
Okay, thanks, Joseph. Share my screen. So I'm going to talk about users and related stuff like user sign in, sign up, and users profile and users avatar imaging uploading. So if you want to use pretty much most of our most functionalities of our site, you're going to have to be a registered user. So I'm going to start from user sign in, sign up. So our user model is fairly standard. You have a username, email, password. Our backend, we use device jam. This is jam provides authentication solution for Rails. Our user model is recoverable. That means you can reset your password by clicking here, and then you're gonna get an email like this. Have the reset password link here, and our model is user model is also confirmable. That means upon your sign up a new account, you're gonna get an email like this to confirm your email address. In terms of the front end, we use Angular device and REST Angular. That's two plugins for AngularJS to basically bring user information from our backend to front end. And the Angular UI is responsible for like sign in, sign out, the register, and REST Angular handles like cancel account or reset password. We also have user profile. Is user profile and user they have a one-to-one relation. Basically, this panel is telling you about the profile of a user. You can say something about yourself here. That's about me, and you also say your time availability, and you also can set like your preferred email notification frequency, and also things like a user's programming language and corresponding experience level, and also users like avatar images are also linked to user profile. And the last thing I want to talk about is the user avatar images. So on the back end, we use a paperclip, and on front end, we use another Angular plugin called ng file upload. That's responsible for uploading files. And all these images are uploaded to Amazon S3. Okay, that's about it for users. Next, Alok gonna tell you a little bit about how we send out email and continue integrations and more.
Thank you, Shin. So, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So we use the mailbox or gem to make a user messageable. So once you're part of a project, you can actually send messages to your teammates. And if you're a team lead and you've created the project, then you can send individual messages as well. And we incorporated a delayed jobs table to work with that, to create an email digest if you've selected a weekly email notification instead of a daily or immediate. And in addition to that, we use the SendGrid API to actually send the emails. And the good part is that it attaches an unsubscribe link and then manages the users who have unsubscribed from the email list. The neat trick that we had to really do is, in case someone is unsubscribed from emails, but they've clicked on forgotten password, which necessitates that they sent an email which then gives them a reset password link, we actually had to dig back into the SendGrid API and change the permissions around to make sure they receive the reset password emails. In general, as far as management of this project is concerned, 6 of us worked on this together, and we used Pivotal Tracker. We created mocks, and the site flow crafted user stories. As Eric mentioned, we took an agile approach and had scrums every morning and evening, had bug lists and tracked those as they came up and tackled them. The challenge, of course, there was in case of changing mocks mid-sprint, which tends to happen in the early days of a project. We had to immediately determine what functionality to complete and what could be changed right away, which allowed us to operate and complete things fairly smoothly, as you can see here. To do so, we used continuous integration, which we set up via CodeShip, which directly deployed our builds to DigitalOcean. So when we committed and checked in a branch into GitHub, it would automatically run our test suite. And once that came out clean, our product would be live. So that is all we have to cover in our demo. We'd like to open it up for further questions on both the technical aspects as well as the user flows. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So we have one question in the queue. I think you answered it here, but just to restate, the question is, how many people worked on this project? So do you mind just tackling that one more time, Alok?
Yeah, we
or Mike?
Yeah, we started off with 6 members for the first week, and then we would, sometimes we would pair. Sometimes people would take tasks and do it themselves, depending on the points in our pivotal tracker. And then our second week we only had 5 people because one of them jumped ship. But it was a good experience working with both numbers, and yeah.
Great. So just as a reminder, there's a Q&A app as part of your Google Hangout if you're viewing. I guess someone was saying that it's not on your left bar. I guess that's when you're in the Hangout. I think you might have to click on one of the other menus to kind of drop it down. But it allows you to ask a question that we can see. So for instance, we have one more question here, which is, what process did you use to decide which APIs to use?
Well, we didn't really touch on too many APIs. If you notice, like our backend was all something that we developed ourselves, and we had our own API really. Then that would pull the projects and everything. We did use SendGrid. SendGrid gave us a free 15,000 emails a month type of deal, so we went with them, and it was the same choice with using DigitalOcean for our hosting. They gave us a nice little package to start off with, and then our CodeShip as well gave us. It started off with 100 builds, but then they gave us a coupon where they gave us 3 months of free builds. So those are pretty much our choices, or it's based on what deals they gave us. Because you want to make your project cost effective as possible. So for the actual API calls, I think SendGrid was the only main one, and that was because they gave us X amount free.
Okay. So we have one more question here. which is sort of related to technical decisions and APIs. How would you scale your app in case of rapid traffic increase?
That is a good question. There would be it would depend. Right now at this point, it's actually built to be it's pretty robust. But later on there would be some changes that we would integrate. We are looking at integrating some real time stuff with Node and Socket, that kind of thing. So, but right now, like it could scale pretty well. We're making it the database and everything very robust, and that's why we chose a lot of the products that we did, like going with DigitalOcean over Heroku. It's just we have that ability already in there. Like we're not limited with our database and things like that.
One other thing I'd like to point out is the way that we manage how things are sent from the back end to the front end. So, for example, we don't need to send every single project in our database over at once. We could send them. Right now, it's sending over 24 at a time. As you scroll through and as you click through. And there are other ways to kind of manage what gets sent and what doesn't to speed things up. Something like Google, right? It doesn't load all the posts for you, but as you scroll down, it kind of pops in more and brings in more. Something like that would also make this much more effective, on a larger scale.
Thanks, guys. We've got one more here. Or okay, I think we have a couple more here. So here's one. What was the funniest or most frustrating bug you guys ran into, and how did you solve it? I don't know if anyone has a good story out of that.
You talk about
Go ahead. There's tons.
There's plenty. So right as we were kind of getting ready to do this, we're doing a lot of last minute bug fixes, and some things broke. What wound up happening was I think Mike tried to delete one project and it didn't quite go through, so I just kind of snuck in the console and deleted it manually. And what happened was bad idea, because that made one of his membership tables invalid. So a method that was calling that turned out to return an error. It didn't work. And so when he'd look at his dashboard and try to see his projects, nothing would come through. Fortunately, that wasn't too big and was caused not by something wrong with what a normal user would do, but me trying to take a shortcut and doing something kind of through the back end of things, going through the side door instead of through the front door.
So we have one more question that I think might be related. Is what was the largest challenge in this project overall?
Deciding the biggest challenge, and I think this would go for a lot of projects, is finding or making the minimum valuable product. Because when you start building your own thing and you don't actually have a third party coming to you and making a project, you want to put everything in. You want to put all the bells and whistles you possibly can, but then you have to remember that you only have 2 weeks to build this, and then in those 2 weeks, you have to figure out all the bugs and all the things that are going to go wrong. So it's a matter of picking out what exactly you want your project, focus on your project, what features can you viably put in that amount of time, and then allot yourself some time to iron out all the bugs and things that could go wrong and stuff like that. And I think that is the hardest challenge that we've had was, can we get this done in the amount of time that we have available,
All right, thanks a lot, guys. I think that's all we have time for in this one. Thanks so much. That was awesome. So for everyone, that was Team Codelegy, Codelegy.xyz, and the team was Mike and Shin and Alok and Joseph and Alice, who's not here, and half of Donald and some and other participation from others who as well are not here. So at this point, let's move forward into the next team. So the next team is Grandma, and then if you want to see this website, it's http grandma.space. And so if you want to follow along, you're welcome to go visit that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Olga. Olga and half of Donald and a number of team members who actually found employment before the end of the course, and so we're not able to continue working on the project. They sort of dropped like flies halfway through, and it was a very interesting set of challenges, which I'm sure you guys can ask some questions about. But for now, let's turn things over to Olga and hear about Grandma. Thanks.
So, I will tell you about Grandma. Then Donald will continue this technology overview. So our team initially was me, David, and me. We were working during the first week, and then guys were employed, and I continued during the second week with Donald. So the idea came from the Medium platform mission. It said that the Medium is a place where the quality of the idea matters, not the author's qualifications. But we really wanted to check what is the qualification and how can we improve qualification so that the great ideas can be explored easily and with joy. So we addressed our hopes to Grammarly company, which operates grammar check API and provides you smart hints how can you improve your grammar. So our project right now looks like this, and it already checked 32 bloggers, checked more than 200 articles, and gave more than 4,000 hints. And that's all was done with the help of Grammarly API, which was built with leading linguists who wrote more than 250 points of grammar, rules of grammar, and also Grammarly API checks the vocabulary, kind of advise you ways to vocabulary enhancement. It checks contextual spelling. So the first thing you would like to do is to check leaderboards. So what Grandma does every day, she wakes up and goes to check Medium top stores. She looks through the top stories, gets authors and their blogs, and checks them, score them, and creates a nice leaderboard for you to review. It also compares them with leading magazine scores and nominates each like top blogger in each grammar category, like style, structure, punctuation. You also can compare the overall time brand doing it for blogs with more than 3,000 words. So let's say you have a blog and you'd like to check it. Maybe you can find it. Maybe it is not there yet. So let's check if there is a fan photographer. No, it's not there. Let's check them. So what Grandma do is notifies you. Sometimes she's very busy and can't check the blog right away. But she will tweet you when your page will be rated. So you can go and check your score with a nice graph that shows you a breakdown of hints, what kind of hints were found, where and how can you improve your blog, for example, with spelling hints or grammar hints. Some authors don't have a very high score, but some of them actually scored more than higher than magazines, so they can notify world about this achievement or notify people about where they are in the top blogs. And we already got a response from some bloggers. So we've got a feedback from Katie. She said that, well, maybe you could also show me where mistakes are. But she can do this, and we already replied that if she will install Grammarly plugin, she will be able to check each post and see all issues. This guy obviously liked grammar. This all about product. Maybe we can continue with technology already. Donald, will you show us the code?
Before we dive into the code, maybe we could pause for a second and see if anyone has any questions about the actual application itself and the interface. So just as a note, again, if you're viewing this, there's the Q&A app, which apparently is actually, if you click on the little 3x3 grid icon, it's sort of under there. You can click Q&A and you can ask a question. So if you have any questions about what you're seeing, we'll jump into how it was actually built in just a second, but I just want to make sure that everyone kind of understands the app and you know what it's doing and how it's doing it. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask at this point. This also goes for anyone inside the app too. Or inside the Hangout, rather.
Are you going to add WordPress anytime in the future, or I use WordPress for blogging.
It wasn't the plan for this particular project, but maybe in the future, if more volunteers on GitHub would like to improve and expand the project, I would love to work with them and perform around with them to continue develop this one.
All right. Well, if there are no other questions, let's dive into the technical side. Lift up the hood and see how it works.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So to start off, there's pretty much just like two separate parts of the application. There's a Ruby on Rails backend, and it's just going to be serving JSON responses to the front end. It's going to handle the medium blog scraping, do delayed jobs. Scraping the blogs can actually take some time. So like, as you notice, this actually just popped up, the blog that Olga just scraped. It's not immediate. It probably takes, you know, around a minute, maybe 30 seconds to a minute. And what we do pretty much is we're going to go to this person, right? So we just scraped this person. We're going to go to their Medium blog. We're going to go to their latest. And we're just going to scrape up to 10 posts, like, you know, the 10 newest posts. It says Hiromi K asked you both check for both American English and British English. And I believe that in this case, Grammarly just does American English. But I'm actually not too sure on that. I haven't seen any things where color is like misspelled because they put a U in it. So maybe that they do check both. But we're not really doing the checking of the grammar. We pass it off to Grammarly, and they send us back a response, and we kind of just categorize that and store it so that way we don't have to ask again. And then the backend also is going to do this whole, you know, posting to Twitter or Facebook. So, you know, there's some options for like pre-filling out tweets or pre-filling out a Facebook message, you know. And it'll automatically tweet when it scrapes somebody new, which is what we had just seen with this thing. Actually, not this page, but this one. And then aside from that, we have an AngularJS front end. It's a single page application, and it's not, you know, the most complex thing in the world. So, you know, it's just to make it a little more responsive. And there's some stuff you don't have to load again, like this nav bar doesn't really get loaded again if you switch between, like, you know, the leaderboard and the front end. And we can utilize a lot of stuff on the front end, like AngularJS has the ng repeat, and we wrote a filter that gives us this nice little accordion menu. So, you know, if we click on citation, it's going to show up like that. Or if we click on grammar, it's going to show up like that. Makes it a lot simpler to use. So going back to the slides, yeah, the only things that we really do that make the front and the back end interact with each other is we're going to have, going back to this, we have like the main page and then this leaderboard. We want to really avoid pulling this leaderboard as much as possible. You know, this is a lot of stuff to ask for, and you know, if we go to somebody and then we go back, we shouldn't have to ask again for this, and that's one of the main reasons to use Angular. It's like, you know, perhaps we could have had a simpler JavaScript only or jQuery only solution, but to work with Angular and get some practice while also it being a pretty decent solution for this simplistic application is going to work out very well. Aside from that, I think that let's see. One of the other things that is nice to go over is that since we use these delayed jobs, we're not going to be holding up the server, and we can actually just fill out something here. So, the front-end application, if you type in something nonsensical, it'll actually like do a verification that you're not doing something invalid, if that makes sense. But aside from that, I think the one other thing that is nice to talk about is that we're using chart.js, I believe, and what this does is it's going to give you a nice little chart based on like the suggestions that Grammarly passes to you, and you can even get like little statistics here about like 12 suggestions per article, but only 8 per 1,000 words. And I think aside from that, that is the general structure of this application. If anyone else has questions, it says Michael asks, how long does it take on average for Grandma to check the blog? So I'm just gonna go with like the worst case that we want, and we don't really care about more than 10 blogs. And the idea is that after 10 blogs, we have a general statistic, and we don't want to like have to scrape somebody who has 50 blogs. So I would say we have a little sleep going on. Grammarly actually asks us that we don't make too large requests too often, and I think it's something like don't do they're like don't give us 1,000 words or more per second. They ask us politely, just like don't flood us with requests. So we put a sleep in between each blog post to make sure that we're not we're waiting and not overloading them. And so I would say that for one author, if they have 10 posts, that 30 seconds is a pretty good estimate, maybe a minute. It really depends on how long the posts are, but from what we've seen, usually blog posts on Medium, or at least the ones we've scraped recently, they don't get over 1,000 words often. Like they're usually around that 500 to like 750 range. There'll be some people who write like those. I like writing like the bigger blog posts, and having like a lot of stuff. But some people will write like like a 200-word blog post, and that's why we have something like this where we only show the top scores after we've recorded 3,000 words, because it's very easy for someone to have like a 99.8 and they have like 100-word single blog post, and that's not really like, why would you put that up there? If they're gonna write more, they're gonna have a bigger opportunity to have a lower score. And then yeah, if anyone else has any other questions, I believe I answered Hiromi's question. So
answering Hiram's question, actually Grammarly API does it for us. It detects what kind of English used in the blog and provides appropriate fits.
So as a reminder, if anyone else has any questions, if you're viewing, you can click on the little 3x3 hash icon and open it on your Google Hangout, and it'll bring down the menu, and you can click on the Q&A, and it'll allow you to ask questions.
So is this, for the general user, is this website a kind of one-and-done thing? They just check their blog once and they're done? Or what happens if they want to check it again? Let's say you mentioned you only wrote 10 blogs. If they write 10 more and try again, will it update?
At the moment, I believe, or at the moment, it's pretty much a one-and-done thing. If you want it checked again, right now we just have the restriction that you only check it once. But we can always set it up so that it'll check again, and just kind of like get rid of the old scores. But at the moment, for example, if I typed in somebody that was already typed in, so Nick was one of the people on our team. I'm just gonna get his Grammarly or his Medium thing. I'm gonna go back, and if we put him in, it's gonna just say like already checked. Go to the link. And what we could do, there were some thoughts about what to do with this, but this was not high on the priority. It was more just making stuff actually work. And we could always just link them to the blog, but add another delayed job saying to scrape some more stuff or something like that. And it wouldn't be, the way it works is you don't get this score until it's done scraping your articles. So one thing is that, you're not gonna, it's not gonna, how do I want to put this? It won't start calculating the score until it's done scraping all of your stuff. You're not gonna get like a 99 for like 5 seconds until it scrapes the next one. It's just like get all the information and then give you a score type of thing.
It sounds like you're saying that these 99, this score that's calculated on your end, not from Grammarly.
Okay, so the way that the score calculation works is that Grammarly gives us some errors, and we run the errors through a little like our own scoring thing to calculate this number. But errors come from Grammarly, and the score is coming from us, and it's pretty much just like, it's sort of a calculation based on how many errors per words. I think it's like per 100 words did you make, and then that's how the score is calculated. So the people who have the highest scores are the people who have the least suggestions from Grammarly API.
Also answering Joseph's question, the idea of the project was to give hints based on the recent articles, not to let the people check their blog again and again, because we assume that once a person saw common mistakes he or she made, they can learn from it and not make this mistake.
I'm curious. I noticed that you have a new chart in the past day or so. Do you mind just talking through the radar chart that you put in there and sort of how that works?
Yeah, I can talk about it. So yesterday, instead of having these this radar and these bars, we had just 3 donut charts. And I actually ran this by, a couple of friends. They don't really have Medium blogs, but since this is a simple enough site that they can click around and they didn't have any like UX issues, they pretty much were able to just use the site, even though they don't have a Medium blog. And one of them pointed out that one of our donut charts was not really sensible, and it was kind of weird that the more even the chart is, the better, and that's kind of a weird chart to have. So we just switched it to bar graphs and like changed it so that it's a better statistic for somebody who actually wants to know about the statistics. And then here we actually had like, I believe it was a pie chart, or not a pie chart, a donut chart, and rather than having like this little radar chart, it was like, it was like a donut chart where the size of each segment of the donut was like correlated to like the number here. And I think that this radar chart idea was really cool because I like radar charts a lot, and it helps you, the more pointy something is, like the more you need to work on it. So it's almost like the opposite of like a stats radar chart, where rather than having the pointy ones be what you want, it's like you want to be as close to like the center of the radar chart as possible. So maybe it's like even like a golf radar chart if you want to look at it that way, or lower is better. But yeah, it's actually not too bad to do this in Chart.js, because Chart.js you can just kind of like select what type of chart you want, and it's gonna take your data and work it to look like a nice chart. And we're not doing some complex graphing stuff here, so it was like the right tool for the job in this case.
And we have a quick thank you from Michael. He said, thank you from the Grammarly team for such an awesome idea and implementation of how Grammarly APIs can be used. I totally agree. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I think that this API was very easy to use. I came into this project middle of the week, so I only had 1 week to get acquainted with the project and start adding on stuff, and it was like, I didn't have to fight the Grammarly API, and a lot of APIs sometimes are like that. Like, there's some I can think of that I would not want to work with compared to the Grammarly API, which is very nice to work with.
That's awesome. Are there any last questions at this point for either of the two groups? This is going once. Going twice. Sold. All right. Well, I want to say thank you Alok, thank you Donald, thank you Joseph, thank you Mike, thank you Olga, thank you Shin, thank you Grammarly team, thank you everyone who's watching, and everyone who could not make this, Alice, Garrett, Nick, everyone who got hired away. Thank you all for being a part of this, and I think that pretty much, and David, of course. Thank you all for being a part of this. Thank you guys for putting your presentations together, and we hope that you'll all be able to join us for the next one. So thanks a lot.